I'm going to introduce Dr. Sylvia Earle. Not that she needs an introduction, of course. You know, she's had such an incredible, illustrious life and passion for the ocean. That's been her life for her whole life. And she continues to make incredible things happen for the protection of our ocean through her Mission Blue organization and her connections with governments. And it's just an honor and a privilege, Sylvia came and spoke at our in-person gala about 3 years ago in Denver, and it was the most well-attended event, as you can imagine, that we've ever had. It was standing room only in the room. Unfortunately, and I know if it was in person this year, Sylvia, we would have filled a room with 1,000 people without a doubt, because of your reputation, your legacy, and people just want to hear you. So I want to hear you again. So please take it away, Dr. Sylvia Earle.
Thank you, Alex. And thank all of you tuning in, my fellow panelists. It's really an honor to be in your company. In listening to you, I don't have a whole lot that I can add to what you've already been saying. I'll put a big exclamation point behind dive in, go out there, get wet, no child left dry, no grown-up either. The planet is blue. We are terrestrial by nature, but we don't have to stay that way. We're so lucky to be humans because we can fly high in the sky. Dolphins can't do that, sharks can't do that, but we can do that. We can go deeper than sharks, deeper. I mean, just this past year, people have been going down to the deepest part of the ocean, 7 miles, 11 kilometers down. And as far as we know, sharks haven't reached that depth. Maybe they are. What do we know? We've only looked at a little piece of the deepest part of the ocean. I hope they are there. They should be. Live ones, I mean. So, the conversation has had a thread of fear running through it, my fellow panelists. I like to think maybe a little fear is not a bad thing. It's powerful incentive. But, I don't know, reflecting about the history of humankind and where we are now, there's a lot of reason, I think, to be really excited that we're here in the 21st century, knowing what we know, that our predecessors could not know, that I didn't know when I was a kid. The kids of today grow up knowing what Earth looks like from space, knowing that people on the other side of the world have families too. Things that I had to look at a book when I was a kid. Television did not exist. The idea that I can pick up this little device and call someone and look at a photograph, look at their live image of somebody on the other side of the planet, or take a camera underwater and have a live feedback to somebody on the other side of the planet. That's a gift. When you think about it, and I do think about it a lot, because I have that little tinge of fear too, knowing what I know about how much we've lost. At the same time that we've learned more about who we are and where we've come from, where we might be going as a species, we've also, on my watch, on your watch, just in the last few decades, we've lost more than during many thousands of years in the past because of our actions, mostly because we did not understand the importance of the ocean, the importance of nature, the importance of sharks, the importance of trees, the importance of taking care of the natural world that has always taken care of us. It's a living planet. It has taken 4.5 billion years, plus or minus, we don't know exactly, but long time to get to where we are. It's taken us a short time, mostly in my lifetime, we've unraveled the basic systems that are vital to our existence, not just our prosperity, but okay, so that's cause for fear, but it's also cause for hope. Imagine if we didn't know. That would be really scary. But we do know. We're armed with the superpower of knowing. Kids have it. You have it. All of us have it. We tend to take it for granted, but not for a moment should we take for granted what we now know. It's our best hope for getting from where we are to a place that could endure if we make the right decisions now. We're celebrating 10 years of the existence of this great little organization that has superpower. The superpower not only of knowing, yay, but of caring and of inspiring people to want to know, to want to care, and to do something. I've been around long enough to remember when the people thought the only good shark was a dead shark because people thought they were out to get us. There's no good reason for a shark to live other than to use it as a product, squeeze the oil out of a shark, and more recently, to think about the luxury item that is a made-up idea that shark fin soup is somehow special. Pay a lot of money for shark fin soup. It's created by marketers, by humans. There's nothing in our history as a species on the planet that suggests that we would go out of our way to kill a shark for their fin or to kill a shark so that we can get the oil for cosmetics. I mean, there's nothing kind of inherent in who we are that would cause anybody to think that we would be the shark's worst enemy. But it turns out we are. They ought to be really afraid of us. It's amazing that they're not. That it's okay for us to go into the water, to be with sharks. They're not out to get us. If I were a shark knowing what I know as a human, I would not be kind to humans in the ocean. I would say they're out to get us. We need to protect ourselves, we sharks. So the only good human we might think is the way we used to think about sharks. We got to go get them because they're out to hurt us. We now know. And our job is those who have this special insight, because we do get into the water, we do know sharks, and do respect them for who they are, what they are. That our job is to communicate to our fellow humans what we know. I mean, we really must do this, and it isn't just about sharks, it's about the living ocean. There are times, like the rest of you, it's not fear as much as it is a sense of despair. That the knowledge is there, the truth is there, but getting that knowledge into the minds and hearts of a critical mass of people, till we get to that tipping point of the attitude where people across the globe understand what you understand and are willing to live their lives in such a way that they will treat nature the way we would like to be treated. It's the old golden rule thing. Do unto others, do unto sharks as you would have sharks do unto you. Don't eat them, they won't eat you. I mean, they wouldn't eat us anyway, usually. I think Mike has had an exceptional experience. What is it about you, Mike? Because all the gazillions of people who get into the water, it's a rare individual who gets nibbled upon, let alone has experiences something of the sort that you have. But think of how many sharks get eaten by us. I mean, that's the reality, and most people are simply unaware of that. Reason for hope. Go back 50 years. Go back 500 years. Whales were just products. They were killed just because the way we kill sharks for products, whether it's fins or oil, whatever it is. And that idea that sharks, tunas, you name it, whales have finally emerged into a different way of being regarded by us. But it has only happened in fairly recent decades that critical mass, that momentum, reached a tipping point. 1986. That's when finally the moratorium on the commercial killing of whales went into effect, not that long ago. It should happen with sharks across the board. It's not just the fins, although fins certainly capture the imagination, and it's a good place to get people to understand. But no shark should worry about getting harmed by us. It just doesn't make sense. What has a shark ever done to us? Except you, Mike. You might have it. But you don't, because you have this thing called a mind and a rational attitude that you can see the big picture. And all of us have that capacity. And never before in history have we been gifted with this accumulated knowledge that's come over the ages. So we're the luckiest generation ever to arrive on the planet. That's what I tell kids. You are the luckiest kids ever, because you know what nobody could know before. The smartest people ever. Einstein did not know what Earth looked like from space. He left us in 1955. The first view of Earth from space didn't happen until 1968, which was not that long ago. When you think how fortunate we are to be here, knowing what we know, and to see that we need we have to take care of the ocean. We have to take care of the natural systems, land and sea. Our existence depends on it. We used to think the ocean was too big to fail, that we could put anything into it we wanted. We could take anything out of it that we wanted. And there's still that attitude. We need the tipping point where enough people are doing what you're doing to magnify the knowledge so that it becomes normal to love sharks, not abnormal. It becomes normal to say, tuna, they are magnificent creatures. We need to protect them for their sake, for our sake. I attended the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, earlier this year. And amazingly, all these brainy economists talking about the value of this and the gross national product of that, and the looking at the budget of the planet and what's something worth and how do we balance the books. And an economist actually came up with looking at whales for the carbon that they contain and realized that a big chunk of a big animal, like trees, they're carbon-based units. Keeping them in the ocean means that the carbon is not escaping into the atmosphere. You kill a whale, the carbon eventually becomes carbon dioxide, goes back into the atmosphere. Keep a whale in the ocean, and the carbon stays in the ocean and ultimately sinks to the bottom of the ocean after 60 or 70 or 80 or 100 years. And the carbon cycle, we don't learn that as kids, but we should, about the oxygen cycle, the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, the cycle of life, that we're a part of it, sharks are part of it, whales are part of it. But to get an economist at the World Economic Forum talking about the value of a live whale versus the value of a dead whale, how we should be protecting sharks because of their carbon value, I mean, that was a breakthrough. And okay, so if it works for whales, why not whale sharks? Why not tiger sharks? Why not great white sharks? Why not cat sharks? Why not all sharks? Why not all fish? Why not all life in the ocean? What are we thinking? Looking at wildlife in the sea as products. What are we thinking? There's a lot of concern about wildlife trade, and there should be. I mean, who could condone, at this day and age, killing elephants for their tusks, killing tigers for their bones or their skin, killing pandas because you want a panda rug, or a polar bear because you want a rug on your floor, or you want to be the great hunter. Look what I've slaughtered. You know, we've got to get over these things. When you think that the greatest wildlife trade on the planet is what's in the ocean, the fish, the sharks. We've kind of gotten away from whales. We're starting to edge away from killing seals, although Canada had an allotment. I don't think they actually got to fulfill the allotment of hundreds of thousands, more than 400,000 seals legally taken. But that's our job. The mindset. Call it blue mind, call it common sense, call it now we know that we have to take care of the biggest part of the planet, the ocean, that keeps everything on the land, including humans, in business. I mean, alive. Our existence depends on taking care of the rest of life on Earth. Okay, we're animals, so we have to eat something. We don't have to eat sharks. We don't have to eat tuna. We don't have to eat whales. Fortunately, we have a wonderful, varied capacity to eat all sorts of things, but we should get away from eating so many animals, eat more plants, and respect the living systems in the ocean, wildlife, for the most important gift that they give to us. It's our existence. It's the most important thing we take from the ocean. So, we're celebrating 10 years of the likes of you and the others who are attending and others who can't attend, of doing exactly what I'm talking about, spreading the word, getting people out there in the ocean, looking at life with new eyes, taking advantage of that gift that we have, that superpower of knowing what we could not know before, and then using it so that, imagine, 10 years from now, climate scientists say we have about 10 years to get it right, to think about blue carbon, to think about the value of living whales, living sharks, living tunas, living plankton, living oceans, living humans, and finding how we can build harmony with nature. If we don't build harmony with nature, the chance of building harmony with one another kind of slips away as well. We have the best chance we will ever have right now. We should be celebrating 10 years, this sweet spot in time. As never before, we have a chance, and maybe as never again, to take this moment in time and to build from this. Rod Stewart, I know you're listening. We're going to see this tipping point, this turning point, and 10 years from now be saluting not only what's been done, but what you're going to do in the next 10 years and to build a next generation of, of people armed with even greater knowledge about why the ocean matters and what we can do to build this four-letter word, fear, and just turn it into the four letters of hope. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for what you're doing. And I'll see you underwater soon.
Wow, amazing, Sylvia. Such incredible words. Yeah, it is quite, I love that idea of, changing fear into hope. But I agree with you. Fear can also be a motivator for us. It's like, if we had zero stress in our lives, we'd be asleep, right? So it's a little bit of stress, a little bit of fear is what keeps us going, And I always think of, if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Yeah, that's incentive.
So that's kind of like the mindset. So I appreciate you guys, all of you, interweaving the idea of overcoming fear and using fear as our driver and motivator and continuing to fight through fear. And here we all are. We're all here still alive and kicking and standing and fighting for what we believe. And that's the whole idea of harnessing all of our passions, all of them, and creating something just incredibly powerful for this planet, and it's just so heartwarming to me. So now we have a special announcement to make, and I'm going to turn it back over to Brian and Sandy Stewart to announce a special award.
Well, special awards are very, very special. And this year's award recipient of the Rob Stewart Ocean Conservationist of the Year is someone very, very special. And what does it take for that type of person? I think you have a passion, a drive, years of ocean conservation, years of saving sharks, loving sharks. I think you have to have impact. And this person has an impact throughout the world, has worked with government officials, started organizations, run organizations. And lastly, I think, no matter what you think, you need to put yourself out there, because when you're out there advocating for an ocean, advocating for sharks, you give other people permission to do the same thing too. So it's really a well-rounded person.
Yeah, and I think also this person demonstrates exhibits the love of nature, the love of the natural world in all its glory, both above and below the sea. Rob had an expression called wildify. He wanted to bring nature back in everyone's life and wildify the earth. And that's something that we hope we can get to at some point. And I think I'm going to have to call on this person for some guidance, because apparently she's got connections above the water and below the water. So maybe we might have to talk about it. But it's our great honor to present Robbie's award to Dr. Sylvia Earle. Thank you.
So proud.
And here, Sylvia, I actually have the award right here. I don't know if you can, it's engraved here, so it's probably not very visible.
Reflecting your teeth.
It's behind, it's on my, that background image is having an adverse effect, but I'll read it. It says, Dr. Sylvia Earle, Rob Stewart, Ocean Conservationist of the Year, 2020.
Whoa, thank you.
Thank you for all the work.
Truly a deep honor, to coin a phrase. So, well,
I'll be putting it in the back in the box and sending it to you this week, Sylvia.
Well, thank you. And talk about a life well lived, way too short, but Rod Stewart really set an example of, putting himself out there, doing what he loved, but also doing what he just had to do what he was doing. He was truly motivated to go all out to make a difference. And I think we're at a point in time when we should be inspired by Rob, by my fellow panelists, because you too are out there. You're all in, and it's what we need to get from where we are to this place that is there for us to achieve. But we can't. It's not going to happen unless we make it happen.
Yeah.
But the joy, imagine being a part of that decade, this decade, so that in 10 years we can look back and say yes. And 50 years, maybe people will be looking back and saying, thank you, thank all of you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Brian, Mike, and Alex, the whole team. All of you who are listening, we are the luckiest ones ever, because we can see what needs to be done, and there's a chance to get out there and do it. So thank you for this honor. And now I have to live up to it.